and salutations. Please allow me to welcome you to Masterpiece Theater. I'm your host, Obba Babatunde, and here on Masterpiece Theater, we celebrate the very best in the spoken word, the written word, and the word expressed in song. In addition, we pay tribute to the talented artists that bring those words to life. Each week here on Masterpiece Theater, I have the pleasure of engaging brilliant artists in one-on-one conversation that explores the great treasures and these writers and actors and singers and dancers possess, as we spotlight their artistry that illuminates us all. So I say, a very warm welcome.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. Distinctly I remembered, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease from sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore.
Yes. Welcome, everyone, to Masterpiece Theater. Obba Babatunde here, your host, and I am thrilled and overjoyed today because I have got some very, very special friends, I'm proud to say, in the studio. And I even got my producer, Mr. Paul Goldsby, to sit in as a guest today, so I am absolutely enthralled. The voice that you just heard was the great Charles Penland. Now, I'm going to read just a little bit about my friend here. I mean, I could talk to you about him for days, but we would be here far longer than the show with the kind of regard and respect that I have for him. But for those listeners who may not know Charles, he's a talented actor, director. Charles has starred in motion pictures Love Beat the Hell Out of Me and Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles. And he's appeared in numerous television shows, including Living Single, Martin, Rock, The Waltons. The list goes on and on. Let me just say to you, Chuck, as I affectionately refer to him, welcome and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Obba. It's good to be here. Good to be here.
We're going to have some fun today. Also, the gentleman that I call Duke. And I call him Duke because he is so elegant and he is absolutely a cat that everybody, when they're in his presence, feels the sense of his royalty. I speak of none other than my friend Keith David. Now, everybody, I'm going to just read a couple of the things, but once you hear the chops on my brother, you'll know exactly who he is. Keith's extraordinary range of talents is evidenced by the body of work. Recent films include The Princess and the Frog, Caroline, Crash. Keith has received an Emmy for the narration for 2 Ken Burns documentaries, The War and Unforgivable Blackness, and was nominated for his narration of jazz. He received a Daytime Emmy nomination for his work in the Showtime's The Tiger. Tiger Woods Story. This man, if you heard the way he laid into the description and articulation of which he gave to the color and texture of talking about the great Tiger Woods, you would have been completely enthralled. Keith gained a wide attention in 1986 for his role, the king in the Oscar-winning film Platoon. Now, I know many people remember that production. Other than his over 75 film credits include Men at Work, Clockers, Pitch Black, I mean, the list is on and on and on and on and on. Brother Keith David, I am thrilled to have you in the studio with us today. Thank you so much for your attendance, bro.
And I, too, am thrilled to be here, my brother.
And as I said, that this was really a special treat because, you have the producer. And the producer, he very seldom is the cat who carries the big stick, as it were. But I said to him today, because we're going to depart a little bit from our normal format in keeping with the season of Halloween, and Paul came up with a brilliant idea, and so I said, well, Paul, would you be kind enough, man, to really sit in, because you've got this really great insight into this concept, because many people have their own particular ideas of what it is that Halloween is and how it presents itself. So let me just read you a little bit about my producer and my friend Paul Goldsby. I'm honored at this time to introduce to the audiences a gentleman who is not only a dear friend but a frequent collaborator in the field of television, motion picture, music, and radio. I speak of none other than the producer of this show and many others that we've done together, impresario extraordinaire, Mr. Paul Goldsby. His motion picture productions include Love Beat the Hell Out of Me, Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles, the horror films Death's Door, and the recent completed If I Tell You, I Have to Kill You, which I'm honored to say that both Keith and I are in, as well as my guest, Chuck. We all got a chance to get a little piece in that. Paul is also the brains behind the television show Horse Talk and The Guest List and Go Beyond the Lens. So thrilled, P, my brother, thank you for being here today, and I'm looking forward to having you as a guest and not just a producer.
I'm excited that you have me as a guest as well. To be in the presence of greatness, Keith David, who I just recently saw the other night in Cloud Atlas, and I think he deserves an Oscar for that property.
Yeah.
And of course the opportunity to work with you, Obba, is an amazing blessing, and anything I can convince Chuck to be a part of is always thrilling. So I'm glad to be here, man.
Oh, we're thrilled, man. So, listen, let's get into a little bit about what today's show is about, because we normally each week on Masterpiece Theater we look into the artistry of words, the very mechanics, in order to explore how they go to work on us, our minds, our psyches, our emotions, how they influence, indeed determine what becomes of us with our lives. Now, in the tradition of the authors such as H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen King, Clive Baker, Marty Shelley, Bram Stoker, and the countless others who do dare us to uncover those dark hidden features of our natures and delight in feeling the danger, the risk, and the horror, we shall say things and go identify the things that go bump in the night. We today are going to uncover some of those things as it pertains to the season of Halloween. And, when Paul mentioned this to me, I started to begin to think about the fact of, just talking to individuals, what does Halloween mean to them? And I got a lot of varied, different ideas, thoughts, feelings. Some related it to their childhood. Others related it to something that was dark. And so today we're going to explore some of that. But the underbed of that is the Raven. And I'm going to ask right now that my friend Keith David, as you heard Chuck open us up with the Edgar Allan Poe's Raven, he did a little introduction to it. I'm going to ask Keith David to share a little bit with us on the Raven.
And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now to still the beating of my heart I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping when so gently you came rapping, when so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word was spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into my chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard the tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when without a flirt or flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched above the bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door. Perched and sat, and nothing more.
Excellent.
I love that.
Excellent.
It is so magical to hear these words because they paint a picture of an experience. Now, I want to get into, gentlemen, if you will, the whole concept of Halloween. Where did Halloween come from? The origins, it has been said, I'm going to read a little something that I found in my studies about this. The word Halloween is derived from the term All Hallows Eve, which occurred October 31st, the end of the summer in northwestern Europe. All Saints' Day or All Hallows Day was the next day, November 1st. Therefore, Halloween is the eve of All Saints' Day. Now, apparently, the origins of Halloween can be traced back to ancient Ireland, Scotland, around the time of Christ on October 31st. The Celts, which we're going to talk a little bit about, celebrated as the end of summer. Now, this was important because it was when animal herders would move their animals into barns and pens and prepare to ride out the winter. Now, this was also a time when the crop harvest, the annual change of seasons and lifestyle, was marked by a festival called Samhain, produced actually Samhain, and it means the end of summer. So rhymes, or sow rhymes with cow. Now, I talked to a few Christians who had different opinions about Halloween and can Christians celebrate it? So we're going to deal a little bit with that. Paul, I'm going to throw the ball to you a little bit and ask for your participation in this whole concept and the origins of Halloween.
Well, it's steeped deep, of course, in different theology. I don't want to pretend or act as though I'm some sort of vast authority, on Halloween. I essentially, just like everyone else, dressed up as a child, as if you were looking at me now. This is how I actually look, and tomorrow I will have on a costume. So there's a gentleman who stole my costume. He calls himself Batman. I am Black Man. And however, what it seems, even in this country and throughout the world, actually, some in this country, over 50 million children go out into the night and participate and something that, of course, they don't really understand what it is, because we've turned it into something that we do as a community. However, it actually stems from a belief where the spirits themselves visited this mortal coil at a particular time of the year and wreaked some sort of havoc, and created all sorts of damage throughout towns and throughout people's lives before they went back into their slumber. But through that, some good things would possibly come out of that, where people could entreat their spirits to act in their favor, whether it was for crops or whether it was for love. Love became a main theme, where women would, on this particular night, would put wedding rings in their potatoes and hope that the person that they invited over ate the potato, and then that would cause them, by the end of the year, by the next Halloween Eve, they would be married.
Wow, now that explains why I bit into a potato once. I'm just teasing. Go ahead, Paul.
Absolutely. But as we move through it, we've come to understand that there's many things that cause us to visit the spirit world. We actually completed a film recently called "If I Tell You, I Have to Kill You," wherein we speak to a lot of things that bring our lives into a certain understanding. As well as the film that we completed called The Death's Door, where I recall when we were shooting the piece, we shot it at a home up on Adams near Western, and it's now a historical site. You actually could go there tomorrow. The house is opened for Halloween.
Okay.
And there were some amazing occurrences that happened within this house while we were shooting that I'd like to speak on as we move further throughout this conversation.
Absolutely.
As I'm sure many of our listeners have had these sorts of experiences, and to share them on this particular eve of Samhain. Is that how you say it?
Samhain.
The New Year's Eve for the Celtics. This is the most appropriate time to speak about those types of things, so it'll be fun.
That's great. I'm going to just ask both Keith David and Charles to please just tell me a bit about your memories of and views of Halloween coming up.
Oh, it's always been like you said, childhood memories of going to get candies and grabbing, just dressing up, and a chance to participate in a masquerade, which we all did, and I guess in the beginnings when they were imitating the ghosts of the people that were supposed to have risen,
right,
for the day before. That was something else, which is why I think Christians may have some kind of ill feeling about it. Now, whether or not that was the true origins and they were somewhat spooky or less than spiritual in the sense that we like to think of spirit, that's one thing. But as it has been reinterpreted in this country for 50 years or more,
right,
it has become a holiday where kids get a chance to dress up and of their favorite cartoon character, superhero, and go around and have fun with their friends and collect candy in the neighborhood. And that's what it is. That's all it should be.
So it's very interesting how over a period of time, something that was had a specific relevance to a specific situation through its the popularizing of that time and the changing with times, it then is perceived differently. So it's an interesting question which we pose, is it then celebrating that which it was originally done, that which it was originally someone had a problem with, or is it really specifically dealing with what's going on and the way people see something now. I think that's an interesting discussion. Charles, jump in on that.
I think so, Obba. Basically, we're talking about commercializing a holiday for the money of it. That's really what it all comes down to now. When I was a kid, that's all that mattered to me. We get to dress up, hang out with the guys, go trick-or-treating, what have you. Not till later on in life did I start even looking at it from a more religious aspect and what have you, and what this day must represent. You know what I mean? If we're going to church every Sunday for the good, and then what is this day? If you look at some of the costumes, especially up on Hollywood Boulevard, Santa Monica tomorrow night, or is it tonight, or whatever it is, the weekend, that big parade they have up there, some of the most awesome costumes as far as the construction of the costumes. But look at what they're depicting. I mean, some gruesome images, and the more gorier now, the better. You know what I mean? We're in the scary movies and vampire movies now. They're so successful. So I just think, really with the whole Halloween thing, the commercializing of it it's about money, basically, with this holiday. Not looking at the real meaning, probably, behind it.
Well, what's interesting too is that at the early part of last century, what they would go instead of for candy and treats or tricks or what have you, they actually would knock on doors for food or for money, and so the commercialization actually happened. Then they altered that because they didn't want people going and then being robbed after they gathered all this money along the way. Somebody be waiting for them at the end of the block, some sort of a human ghoul, I guess. But that was part of it. Always, they used to give out something about a century or two ago called soul cakes. Where you could go and get a pastry from the church, because it was essentially All Saints Day. They were really celebrating the saints that lived, and celebrating them at the end of the year to usher in the new year, as we do, I guess, similarly at Christmas time.
So let me pose this question, and listeners, I'm going to give you the telephone number, because we're going to have you call in a little bit later, and I'm hoping even I've got some other guests of mine that might be able to call in and surprise us with a little something. But let me give you this number. If you want to call in, the number is 323-965-1600. Again, that's 323-965-1600. And we're going to be taking some calls a little bit later. And you can talk to our guest, or you can weigh in on your views about Halloween and any information that you have. Because what we're really looking to do is explore it, not to promote it or to somehow denounce it, but to really give an opportunity for an open discussion about it, because it really has specific differences relative to who you ask. I mean, the simple answer, if one asked to perhaps a Christian, could be no or yes. But let's not look at the negative first. I mean, the Christian is not to be involved to or support the cult or witchcraft or demonicism or anything like that, or to uplift the occults. No, that's certainly not something that Christians would associate themselves with. To do so would be to contradict God's word. All right, but on the other hand, it isn't wrong to dress up in costumes and go door to door and say trick or treat, to provide the costumes that, as Keith had mentioned, of a cartoon character of your favorite person, and someone be able to give you a treat and share in a joyful time. So this is an interesting discussion, and I think it has to do with when we look into really identifying what it is that a holiday may start out being in its origin, or anything as it starts out being, and then where it progresses to.
Well, I don't think it started out as a holiday. It started out as a ritual.
Okay.
Some kind of, as we were talking about, harvest ritual, as well as the entering in of All Saints Day. So you're talking about some kind of ancestor worship, or ancestor, respecting ancestors, or you have the Day of the Dead, and you have feasts of the dead, and Catholics celebrate that as well. I think as it has evolved, less and less, fewer and fewer people know that it started out that way. it is now so commercialized that all we do is, it's a chance for kids to have a day off on the weekend, have a day off during school, or celebrate during the weekend if it comes in a week like it does this year, to gather, have a little party, share some candy and have fun.
There's stores that open up just for Halloween, just stores. The money being made on Halloween is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, as with all our holidays. Stores just for Halloween only.
Well, someone mentioned to me that now Halloween has surpassed, in terms of the financial grossings, is now the biggest holiday in terms of financial grossings, even surpassed Christmas. So we're going to talk more about that. We're going to take a little bit of a commercial break, and when we come back, continue to talk about Halloween and the Raven. Stay tuned. We've got a caller. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Man, we are having so much fun in the studio. If you guys could be here, my producer, Paul Goldsby, is...
I have a cold right now, so I'm not feeling myself.
He's got on a costume that you would not believe. I mean...
Don't let the smooth taste fool you.
But
it was the food.
I wanted to remind you, please, that we open the lines up to callers. The number is 323-965-1600. Again, 323-965-1600. If you'd like to call in, speak with one of our guests, or weigh in on your ideas, feelings about Halloween, we'd be happy to hear about it, or even The Raven. So now, Keith, when did you first get introduced to this, The Raven?
When I was a kid, they had lots of Walt Disney cartoons and other cartoonists. I don't remember who was the maker of the cartoon, but they did a spoof on The Raven. And they had the Raven come, and he was rocking and the tapping at my door, a rapping and a tapping at my door, and it was this real cool hip Raven, and I loved the poem, and I've loved language since I was a kid like that. So I later on looked up where it had actually come from, and then I heard Vincent Price do it, and from there I was hooked.
Great. Listen, we've got a caller on the line. I want to take this call. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Oh no.
Hello. Am I talking to the great actor, Mr. Obba Babatunde? My niece calls Obba Mama Tuesday.
If my memory serves me correct, is this the great Garrett Morris calling in?
I don't know about great, but because I know you and I approve of you fully, so people may question my standards.
Studio audience, we've got the great Garrett Morris calling in.
And I don't want to lower the taste of this thing, but I know that you are a very peaceful man, and therefore masterpiece, P-A-C-E, should be applied to you. Man, I greatly know to be about that. But you've also been about the other kind of peace, P-I-E-C-E, so I'm thinking maybe the other name might fit you just as well.
You see, Garrett Morris, ladies and gentlemen, forever, the brilliant comedian. Thank you, Garrett, for that. Listen, Garrett, you've been listening to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in.
I have been.
Listen, man.
And The Raven is one of my favorites, and I got something I want to say, too.
Oh, okay. All right. Listen, go ahead, man. Have at it.
Right now?
Yes, go ahead. Have at it.
Then this evident bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling. By the grave and stern decorum of the continent it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's plutonic shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvel this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly. For its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing birds above its chamber door, bird or beast above the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply, so aptly spoken, doubtless said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore.
Oh, Garrett!
Nice.
Woo!
Nice.
Yes, yes,
Nice.
yes.
Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, because we're going internationally, I wanted to take a moment. If you don't recognize, just to give credit to let you know exactly who that was. That was the great Garrett Morris, as I said in my introduction.
And I paid him $5 for saying that, ladies and gentlemen. I'll get it after the show.
You may remember him from Saturday Night Live. He raised by his grandfather, a Baptist minister, and began singing in church choirs. He wrote a play on the side of that I did, and it was one of the greatest, and to this day, one of the greatest theatrical plays. No, I mean this seriously, that I have had the chance to do. It was a play called The Secret Place. It was written by Garrett Morris, directed by Bill Duke, and we had a host of amazing members. We did this
including yourself, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I discovered. I discovered a brilliant actor, singer, dancer, just everything. He's what a Renaissance man I'm talking to, and I have it as a friend for many, many years now.
Well, thank you very much, Garrett.
May I be shamelessly self-promotional?
Yes, please do.
You know, I'm in a show now called Two Broke Girls on CBS.
Yes.
And also, on November the 8th, 9th, and 10th, as you know, I'm going to have the gala reopening of my club, the Downtown Blues and Comedy Club. I want you to come check it out. You're already scheduled to come to the red carpet on the 10th of November. And anybody else, check out the Downtown Comedy Club, Garrett Morris, the Downtown Comedy Club, Blues and Comedy Club.com.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Please go and check that out. Now, Garrett, tell us. Now, you know we've been talking about Halloween also. Can you give me some of your feelings about the season of Halloween and your ideas?
It might be my most favorite holiday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because, you know, a lot of the other holidays are based on true, you know, religions that have been concretized with dogma and everything like that, like, you know, Christianity, Judaism, all that. But as a matter of fact, as you probably know because you're an academic, much of what we celebrate in a lot of our established religions, particularly Christianity, comes out of the more pagan rites that Halloween represents. Mm-hmm. And and way back before you had, you know, Christmas and all that stuff, you had people celebrating their different gods, et cetera, which now they might be called blasphemous. But for me, I like the Halloween because you just do whatever you want and celebrate whatever you want, and excluding the devil. Okay, you can celebrate and be whatever you want. I like that it's a diversity of Halloween is a diversity of different things coming together as opposed to any one religion or anything like that. You're just out there celebrating, you know, and just having fun celebrating the whole pagan idea of it. I like that free idea that has to do with you're attached to Halloween all the time.
Now, Garrett, are you planning on going trick-or-treating this year?
I might. I mean, I'm short enough now to be taken for, you know, if I just talk, speak, and I hide behind some of the little kids, I might get me some, you know, I love chocolate and stuff, you know. We passed that time. Remember when you actually could go out and not expect to get, you know, some dangerous stuff in your candy? Nowadays, you take your life in your hands if you do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think that's something we should also mention is that we respectfully suggest that, you know, the youth that are out trick-or-treating, that there be parental guidance for those that are too young. And to be mindful is that, you know, that all candy may not be the candy for your child, and that we really pay strict attention to that. Garrett, I am so honored and thrilled, man, that you took the time to call in and for being someone that's actually listening to the show.
On the show, man.
Oh, listen, man, it's an honor, man. So you want to tell us right before you leave, just give us again that information about your club.
Oh, okay. The club is reopening again. It's a gala reopening. The red carpet event will be on the 10th of November, but we want to have what we call a preview, a warm-up, dress rehearsal on the 8th and 9th of November, and the club is called Garrett Morris's Downtown Blues and Comedy Club. Unlike, other comedy clubs, we have a blues act and a comedy act combined. And it's on 5th and Spring in downtown L.A. And check us out on Garrett Martin, downtownbluesandcomedyclub.com. And thank you for letting me do this, Obba. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say that he's talking about honoring me. Believe me, I know who I'm talking to. If you ever seen this guy dance, okay? I know he's getting to be 60 now, but I saw him do Sammy Davis about a year and a half ago, and he still hadn't lost his stuff. But so far I'm concerned, the great Gregory Hines who's gone, he's in that class with them. He's in, so far I'm concerned, I'm talking to a man who's in the class, particularly with his talent, with anybody, but certainly when it comes to dancing, you haven't seen it until you've seen Obba on the floor.
That's for sure. That is
Somebody say jalapeno.
Thanks so much for calling in, Garrett, man, and I appreciate the kind words. I'll talk to you soon.
Jalapeno?
Yes, that was Keith David. That was Keith David.
What's up, G? How you doing, man?
You got more voiceovers. You know what I mean? I can't stand you, Keith, but hey, I'm so glad to be on the same program with everybody. And look, I gotta go, but I'll be seeing you, Obba. I'll be talking to you about in a couple hours.
All right.
Thank you so much, brother.
Y'all take it easy.
All right, peace.
And don't do anything I wouldn't do.
That gives me a lot of leeway.
All right, that was the great Garrett Morris, ladies and gentlemen. You see, we are really so blessed here to have these wonderful callers. We're going to continue, but before we do, talking about Halloween, I thought that maybe I'd jump in here because everybody's gotten a little taste of this Raven, and I'm feeling a little Ravenish now.
Get some.
But the Raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling. Straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungangly, ghastly, gaunt, an ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in grissing, but no syllable impressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on this cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight glowed o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight glowing o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung a symphon whose footfalls twinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he has sent thee, respite, and nymph from the memories of Lenore. Quaff this kind of nymph, and forget this lost Lenore. Quaff the raven nevermore. Prophet, said I, think of evil. Prophet still, if bird or devil, what temper sent, or whether tempest toss this hair ashore. Desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home of horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm and Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it shall clasp a Satan maiden, whom the angels named Lenore. Clasp a rare radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore? Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of panting. Bird or friend, I shrieked of starting. Get thee back into the tempest of the night's platoon shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thou soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above the door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Then the raven, never fitting, still is sitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out thou shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted, shall be lifted, nevermore.
All right, all right. Obba Babatunde.
Yes, that was nice.
You know he was imbibing the night he wrote this. You know, he was heavily imbibed.
Absolutely. Edgar Allan Poe, the great writer. So getting back to, we've got a little time left. And remember, if you want to call in and talk to any of our guests, the number is 323-965-1600. And let's get back into this, the concept. And Paul, I'd like you to weigh in a little bit more. You had alluded a little bit earlier to some of the things that you talked about that we would get into later into the show pertaining to the Halloween present season.
As I said, I have a cold, so I don't quite look myself today. So. The thing I wanted to share with everybody is, a story, as I'm sure all of us have, of our own different things that have visited us maybe in our lifetime. As we were shooting a film called The Death's Door. We were shooting a scene and we were preparing and everyone was in the room moving about. There was about maybe 20 different crew members moving about, and we had no children on the set. No children whatsoever. However, I look over in the corner, and just by the fireplace, I noticed that there was a very small boy sitting just in the corner by the bookshelf. And as we I looked around and I'm the producer of the film, so I'm looking around and then I look down and I say, "Excuse me, whose child is this?" And everyone looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, "Wait, there's a child in the room. Is he safe? Whose child is this?" And they looked at me again as if I was crazy. And I said, "Well, okay, maybe." I am crazy. Maybe I'm the only one who sees this young man. And it became quite apparent that I was the only one who actually was seeing this young man. He was crouched in the corner just watching everyone do their work. He was just an average, say, a 7-year-old, just crouched in the corner watching people work. So I quickly left the room, as I knew that clearly I had no reason to be there, as I was the only one who was witnessing this. So I left out of actually the mansion that we were shooting in. It's a historical site over, like I said, near Adams and Western. And as I'm outside, as the shooting continued, my brother Kennedy's the director of the piece, Kennedy Goldsby. One of the lighting persons came in, a gentleman by the name of Foster. He walked in and he said, "Hey, who was that in the shot?" And everyone was like, "Who are you talking about?" He goes, "Right here in the shot, in the corner. There's a little boy here in the shot." And everyone looked at him as though he was crazy, and he immediately said, you know something, you guys are out of your mind. I'm going to light this show from in my truck outside from this point forward. We had another 5 days left to shoot there. He never entered that house again.
Wow.
And it was very, very interesting because I found that in that particular home, what had happened was there was a family in the early 1900s who had been burned to death in that home, and one of the members of the family was a young boy, and so we had quite an amazing experience with that. So I thought it was just me who had this experience, but as we finished the film, it was quite amazing because I just inadvertently said at one of the screenings to someone that I had this experience, and then they started telling me of their experience, and then others started talking about the experiences that they had, where they saw where they were setting up a camera, and there was a lady who seemed to be dressed in early 1900 garb, and she was there watching as he was in the attic setting up the camera, and he quietly put his apparatus down and went down the stairs and quit the job.
Whoa.
And so he came to the screening to see what the picture had ended up like, because he was surprised we were able to finish it, because that house seemed to have had some sort of otherworldly life of its own inside of there. It was an amazing experience, my man. Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Now, you also shared with me when you came up with this idea to do the show about this, is that it was also a time when people would have a ceremony where they got an opportunity to revisit with loved ones that had departed.
Yes, it's something actually Keith was talking about. Maybe you could elaborate on that. Is it the Day of the Dead? Is it?
No, I forget what it's called, but it's like a Day of the Dead kind of ritual when they do sort of ancestor worship.
Yes, they have these festivals actually where you go into the cemeteries themselves, and you lay out a blanket, you set out food. You set out the favorite things of your lost loved one, and people feel strongly that they are visited by their loved one, and they're able to share things with them, and actually feel consoled by this process. And it's a yearly event that happens around the world at many cemeteries.
So in that way, if one had an opportunity to revisit and spend time with a loved one, is that also a time when do you think that they get a chance to actually communicate and maybe talk to them about unfinished business? Would that be something that would be inclusive in the in that ritual, do you think?
100%. What it represents is a time and an opportunity for these family members to address things or get things off of their chest and feel as though they can be consoled by the fact that they have some sort of, let's say, closure with their loved one. This is an experience that happens around the world, and people swear by it. That it's a life-changing scenario when they're lost in sadness behind the loss. This is what, of course, the Raven speaks to, an immeasurable loss that he just cannot suffer through. And then he's visited by this Raven who reminds him that he will never more be with this person.
So
in his lifetime, anyway.
Yes. So we are identifying here on Masterpiece Theater that there is much to be uncovered. And Paul sort of alluded to the fact that through this piece, The Raven, which many of us have grown up knowing throughout our childhood, that there is a description of one's experience with loss. I always like to promote and inspire those toward writing. Here on Masterpiece Theater, we're all about the word, and be it spoken, be it word that is communicated through lyric and music, or the written word. And it is so important that we get an opportunity. I was hoping we got a few more callers, but I can see that people might be interestingly shy about this subject matter. And because usually when we have a show, the phones are lit up about different things. But, you know, I think that we were able to, at least, if nothing else, shed a little bit of light that might give someone cause for looking into it. Take your time to look into what it is that Halloween means for you and yours. We are thrilled that you will continue to join us here on Masterpiece Theater. To my guests, Chuck.
Hey.
Thank you so much, man.
Anytime, Obba. Anytime.
You know,
it's been a pleasure.
You're a great artist, man, and for lending your time to us today, I really am appreciative.
Thank you, man. Coming from you, that means a lot.
Thank you. And my brother, Keith David. Brother, you know, we almost come out the womb together in the sense that Keith and I are both hail from New York, and we would spend time together hanging out at the call board at the early days of Equity, and that would be our meeting place.
Pounding pavement.
Yes, pounding the pavement. And then we got an opportunity to work together, of course, in several projects, but one that is really a milestone for me when I got a chance to share the stage with my brother in Jelly's Last Jam, as I was fortunate enough to create the role of Jelly Roll Morton and him, the Chimney Man. And we had such a great time, and thank you so much, man, for coming and supporting this effort.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. Appreciate
Cloud
you.
Atlas.
Yes. And Paul, my brother, my producer, my dear friend, I thank you so much for your continued support and the collaboration of the things that we have an opportunity to do together. And
we can make it do what it do, baby.
Please continue to come back and join us here on Masterpiece Theater as we continue to open our eyes and ears and hearts and minds to the things that encourage, enlighten, and inspire. Remember, as I always say, in life, as you do anything is how you do everything. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Take good care, and thanks so much.